stuff up from a auction that I won some parts on the other day. I've got a few little things. Got some John Deere mudguards. I'm hoping I can fit to my John Deere. We picked up a little disc gang for our acre maker, or it looks similar, but I think we can use some parts off it. But the main thing we've got to go out and look at and get going is we won the bidding on an Allis-Chalmers HD15. So they run a 671 GM engine. This is an old cable blade, probably that 1950 model, I reckon. So I've got some batteries, some jumper cables, some battery leads, because I think it might need a lead. We just got to make sure it's all up and running, so when we get a truck organised, it's just ready to start and drive straight on. We don't want to be mucking a truck about paying that much per hour. The machine has been running recently. I was talking to a mechanic who worked on it, got it going. So hopefully we can go and get it sorted out and bring it home. Just cruising old Triton now. As you can hear, it's not quite standard, but it doesn't look much, but it's pretty handy to ute actually. So here's the beast. Looks like we've got to get a new battery lead from here into the battery box here for the positive. And that one there's alright. And this lead runs back up to the starter motor. Gauge is smashed out of it. Oh well.
Is there a button to turn on?
Engine primer.
Probably not.
So that's right. That's your
Backboard quarter slope.
Roll of smoke.
Oh, that got it a little warm.
That's a good crank though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It was for a GM. Starter on the start of the
Right?
Yeah.
How far do you want him? Yeah. Does it?
All loaded on. Well, we got it home. We end up leaving the blade chained up, so I have to fire it back up again, lift the blade, get the chain off because he wanted the chain back. They lift up high, these cable blades, don't they? Looks like it's still got a bit higher too. So the original front end, I'm guessing maybe, I don't know if it's still under there or taken off, but it's got the heavier front piece put on to obviously hold the cable guide. There's lots of different versions of the cable. This one's got the cable running up through under the cab there, then down into the control unit. Some of them ran up the side. Be nice if it had the original grill underneath. It's hard to say. I'll have to climb up and have a look. She seems to be running alright, but missing a little bit and blowing a bit of smoke. I'm not sure if it's just an injector problem or just needs a decent run. Oil looks okay. So the 671. The track gear does look good, although very dirty, but I better not clean that in the paddock. A lot of that looks like gravel out of the shed where it's parked. Oh, a bit of dirt. The idler, the actual chains do look in good condition. You can see it's actually been replaced. That's got a bit of yellow paint on there. You can see the welds where they've put a new segment on. I'm not sure if it's a Allis segment or it's actually been converted to Caterpillar pitch. You'd have to measure the pitch, I guess. The bushes look good. Can't see the rollers, but they run some pretty good guards on them. The grouses are worn down a bit, but that won't affect what I'm going to do with it. The cable control unit. There should be a serial number in here somewhere. Can work out exactly what year it is then. You see the yellow paint, but yeah, they're good sprockets. It hasn't been moved for a while. Look how rusty it's all gone, just sitting in the shed. He reckons it probably hasn't been going for 20 years. There doesn't seem to be any generator on it. It's just got this wire hanging here, but you can see the bracket here, but the belt's still got tension on it though. So no charging system. I'll have to look into that. The throttle seemed to be, when you bring the throttle back, I don't know if it's just out of adjustment, but it seemed to be idling pretty high. Doesn't look like it's got the original grill on there. It's got this big heavy piece on it. And a radiator cap. And I can see the water. The nut for the track justice, I reckon. It's lucky that didn't fall off on the way home, fell on the truck. Filters here. It's a shame when it sat out the bush a long time ago when it was at or used on their farm. Someone come along and smashed all the gauges, which is a bit of a shame, isn't it? Not nice factory gauges. What's that one there? That's our total hours on that one. Engine temperature and oil. So you got your steering clutches, steering brake. It's got a broken foot on there. So your starter's down here, throttle, stop. Have to go through the manuals, have a look. So you got your gearbox, reverse, forward, and I think this is high and low range. There's some badges on here, but they're pretty corroded. Oh, there's a grease nipple there for something. And then your main clutch, it's not quite right when we're trying to get into gear there with the clutch in. It's dragging on the clutch. I don't know if it's out of it, needs adjusting, or there's an issue with the clutch. So this is your hopefully get the battery covers for it. The owner did ring and say he's found one, so hopefully find another one. Nice big covers going there. Got to watch your head on that when you stand up too. Get a bit of that off there. So first thing I reckon we'll have to do is give it a bit of a clean up, start checking things. So this is another day now. I've got the manuals, so I've just been doing a lot of reading on that. I've learnt a lot about that one. So operator's manual, and then this one's got the repair parts list. And I found the lubrication chart, which is pretty detailed, shows you a lot. So I think the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to change the fuel system over and flush it all out, because this diesel, if it's been 20 years, it's pretty old diesel and it doesn't smell that great. So that's probably not helping things in terms of it running right. So if we get some fresh fuel in there, change the filters. Now this has got what they refer to as the heavy duty filters up here. So you've got fuel at the back and then oil. And then it comes up to these filters, which is another fuel, and then the oil filter for the engine. So we've got drains on there. You can drain them out before you undo them and pull the canister apart and replace the internal filter. This is a pump for the steering clutches, so there's oil in there. There's a fuel tap on the tank under the seat, and there's also this bung here so you can drain the tank right out. It's going to be a little bit tricky to get out past there without making a mess, but we'll see. I'll put some hose or something on it. So I'm going to get some gauges for it, because it's actually supposed to have a fuel pressure gauge here. And I can see that someone's crimped the line off there, so I'll undo that nut and make up a new line. So I'm just going to get all mechanical gauges, fuel pressure, oil pressure and temperature. So let's see where we go getting some of this fuel out. So we've got all the fuel drained out of it. End up just using the little tap here, not the bung. It just took longer, just let it go and change the drums over. This can't really get to this easy with this winch or the control unit there, so we just use a tap, which is supposed to be the lowest point, but it is sitting on a bit of an angle here, so it's probably a little bit in the other end. We've got about 120 litres out of it. Doesn't really smell like diesel, so probably gone off, I reckon. Now I'm just going to pull this cover off now and have a look at this filter. Apparently, according to the book, this is the old style with the bolts, and then the newer one had like a big T-bolt clamp. There's a drain at the bottom, but I've got most of the gauges out. Looks like the the hour meter used oil pressure. So once it got oil pressure, it let the circuit through to put power to the hour gauge. So I've got a new hour gauge coming, and I can reuse all this stuff, and that's the fuel line to the fuel gauge. I'll cut that off and probably silver solder a piece onto there for whatever suits the gauge when it turns up. And then I'm going to just drain these. It's got drain bungs on each filter, so you get two fuel filters and an air vent on top, so I'll drain them out first. Try not to get too much on the ground, as we are in a hay paddock here. Pretty brown in there. A lot of condensation builds up on that, so it's all gone rusty. Gasket here. But there should be a filter in there. I'll probably scoop some out and just put in the container there. Okay, there's no filter. It's probably been taken out years ago. Oh well, I'll have to drain that out then. So I've got these filters out, just drained them out with the little drain valve, undone the top. So yeah, they're pretty old. So I'm just looking at these Fleet Guard ones. Got some dimensions here. I was just checking them with the tape. Looks like the right ones. Hopefully it comes with that gasket there. And then we just got to clean up all this stuff around the bottom here. Try and get that away. Give them a good wash, and that gets them ones in. What we are thinking about doing with this one, we're actually thinking of getting rid of these two filters. I don't think they're doing much really, especially if there's no filters in there. I haven't checked this one yet. This is for the engine. But if we do a bit of replumbing, it won't take much to get rid of them. I could even put a full seat back in then too. Supposed to have two seats. We'll see. We also won these at the auction as well. So there's 3 liners in there, and so they're in a jam box. That's pretty cool. And Allis-Chalmers, and they're the pistons for it. And 3 pistons. Oh yeah, rings. So it's all piston rings. So your gudgeon pin in that little tube there, and then your clips and then your caps to seal the clips off. That's pretty neat. Need 3 more though, don't we? Hope we don't have to rebuild it. Some more bits there, some kind of seal. Thought that was cool. So I might just wrap this video up for now. Waiting on a few bits of gauges, filters. We've got some filters ordered. We have decided we probably will remove these. Shouldn't take too much to take them off. I mean, they're only holding rust, especially the diesel one in. I haven't taken this cover off yet, but I just run it back a couple of hard lines back into the block here. It's just a matter of taking them off and blocking them up. I'd like to try and find a bit more information about the history of it. I noticed it's actually got HEC there, which would have been the Hydroelectric Commission. I know they did use some Allis-Chalmers, so it could have been bought new by them, maybe before it was sold to Mr. Woolley for using for land clearing. I reckon we'll pull this, get the bonnet off, and we'll pull the rock cover off, and we'll go through and check all the valve clearance and the injector clearance I think there is, which affects your timing. We'll just have a look in the book there. There's a little tool you can use to set the gap for the injectors. We might as well check that out while we're working on it. So yeah, stay tuned.